everything is lifelong learning, right? Like we are constantly learning each and every day. Even as adults, there are new things that we're learning, there are new things that we're getting exposed to.
Yeah.
And curiosity keeps you invested in that learning momentum and wanting to continue to learn and wanting to continue to find out new things and make discoveries. And it takes curious minds. It takes being able to ask questions. It takes being able to think outside the box, to be able to innovate and create these new things. And if we lose that curiosity, we kind of lose that thought process. We lose that cycle of kind of even the engineering process of kind of making mistakes and having failures and overcoming those failures, figuring out what works, what doesn't work, trial and error. All these things are based around curiosity.
Welcome to another episode of Animals, Nature, and You. This episode is no different than all the other ones that I have interviews in the sense that I'm excited about it. He's one of the coolest people I get to interview. All the people I've interviewed. That's one of the best parts about having my own podcast is I get to invite these really cool people on here, have a conversation with them, get to know them. Full disclosure, I've known him since 2018 or 19 when I first came across him on Instagram. We did an Instagram live together, I think in 2020 or so during the pandemic, might have been 2021. We've stayed in touch. We've never met in person. We've always talked about how we should. And I can tell you, I'm very excited to see this episode comes out on Thursday. The following Sunday, when this episode has been out, we will actually meet in person. That's because he's also releasing a book this week. In fact, when this episode comes out, the book has been available for a couple days. He's on a book tour, and he's going to be here in San Diego, and I get to go actually meet him in person. So I'm very excited about that. Who am I talking about? Well, you might know him from Instagram on the Hip Hop Science Show. His persona is Hip Hop MD. When I first came across him, I was floored. Very charismatic, very entertaining, but incredibly knowledgeable. I was like, wait a minute, how does this happen? How do you have all of these components? Well, now as a guest on my episode here of Animals, Nature, and You get to find out how it all came together for him. It's a great story, how he got his start, and then also where he sees himself going from here. So let me read you his bio, and full disclosure too. We did this interview probably about a month ago. I'm recording this intro and doing the outro afterwards. We recorded this from probably about a month or so before you get to listen to this because he's so busy with his travel and all of his work, and I knew going into his book tour, it would be another couple months before I could nail him down to get this interview. So it's a short and sweet interview, to the point. Great content, great guy. I cannot wait for you to hear all of this. So without further blathering on my part, already gone long enough. Maynard Okereke graduated from the University of Washington, go Huskies, with a degree in civil engineering. He is an award-winning science communicator, having received the Odyssey Award for Excellence in Social Media, and most recently, Ebony's Power 100 list. His passion for science and entertainment, along with his curiosity for new innovation, has taken him through an incredible life journey. Noticing a lack of minority involvement in the STEM field, he created hip-hop science with the goal of encouraging minorities and youth to pursue more advanced career paths. His background in engineering, acting, music, business, and credible work in STEM make him uniquely qualified to engage on a wide variety of topics from an entertaining perspective. And this is all highly reflected in his speaking engagements and his daily social media posts, which he provides both humorous and informative SciComm content. Like I said before I rolled into the bio here, we recorded this a while ago because he was so busy traveling and everything else. So we're going to roll right into me just saying, Maynard, thank you so much for being here on Animals, Nature, and You.
It's always good to connect with you, my man.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think last time we did anything even remotely close to this would have been around the pandemic when I was doing Instagram Lives.
Yep, that seems like forever ago now.
It does. And you know, that actually, before we get into everything, because we have a lot I want to cover today, but I think I came across you like late 2019 on Instagram, and I just loved how you were integrating science in sort of this fun, entertaining, musical way, because often science education is kind of dry the way it's presented. It's not always something that the general public feels they can digest or is approachable for them. I want to ask you, you are clearly ridiculously passionate about educating science and STEM and being inclusive, which is so very important. But what was the starting point? What was the spark that got that started for you? Because you're so dang passionate and good about it. You know, it's crazy.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really a long roundabout story. You know, I've always been a science nerd at heart, and that was always something that was foundational in me, but I never really found a way to be able to hone in into it, obviously in the way that I'm doing now. And so it was a very unique set of circumstances that led to getting in my position now, doing my work as a science communicator. I have a background in engineering. I studied civil environmental engineering at University of Washington in Seattle. And like growing up, I was always just a nature nerd. I loved being outside. I loved working with animals. I loved environments, ecosystems was kind of like my thing. And so I always used to go to like local pond and catch frogs and snakes and salamanders. And I just loved learning about the natural world. I had this like wildlife fact cards that my mom used to give me. They used to come in the mail and give you all these crazy facts. I don't know if you remember these, but they're these little pamphlets with all this little information about animals. And like I used to memorize those fact cards. So I had all sorts of just crazy animal facts just lodged in my head forever, right? And I'd always be that guy that always like pulled out random facts at weird situations kind of all my life. That's kind of just who I was. Because I just love talking about nature and the natural world. And, I got into school, ended up meeting some peers involved in engineering, ended up getting into the engineering field. And, I, along with being a nature nerd and science lover, I was big into music and entertainment. I love being in front of camera. I loved acting. I loved performing, loved being on stage. And that was kind of like my creative outlet that I never had a chance to pursue as I was doing kind of all my educational pursuits in life. And so after I was in the industry working as an engineer for a couple years, I was tapping into a lot of my other creative pursuits. And I finally kind of reached this head where I just wasn't feeling fulfilled in the work that I was doing as an engineer. I was kind of stuck in this position where I just didn't really have any creative outlets, and the work that I was doing just wasn't that gratifying. And so I just did a complete 180. I left engineering and moved down to LA to pursue some opportunities that I had at the time in music and acting work. And that's what brought me down here to Los Angeles, where I'm at now, and just really tapped into my creative outlets, doing entertainment work full time. And during that, I was still finding ways to be able to give back. I was still exploring, still love science. And people always ask me like, how do you know these random facts? I just didn't fit that mold for like, you're an entertainer, a hip hop artist, but all these like kind of random engineering and nature facts and all these things. And so I started leaning into it. I started making some content with some of my friends at the time that were doing, comedy sketches and different things like that. And ironically, I don't know, I know this, but the history of my hip hop science platform actually started out as a sketch comedy skit.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I came across it, I think, first on Instagram. So I didn't realize it was a sketch comedy.
Yeah.
So that was in LA. What group were you with, if you don't mind me asking?
What was that? What
comedy group were you with down there in LA, or was it just you and a couple friends doing
No,
your
it was just
thing?
like me and friends. I just had a lot of friends that are comedians. And so I was always at comedy shows all the time. I definitely did have friends that were in like, Second City and different things like that. So I was just always at comedy scenes all the time. And, I love comedy. I would always love going to comedy shows. And so I just started doing content with a lot of my, comedian friends. And I came up with this character that was the hip hop MD. That was just kind of this weird, quirky guy that was a scientist that was also into music and entertainment and would drop random science facts in weird, inappropriate situations, which was like true to who I was. Like that's kind of who I was.
You weren't acting too hard off a character on that one.
And so I just leaned into it. And from there, it just kind of snowballed into this whole education platform. I realized people were learning from the content that I was putting out there. People were like, oh, wow, I never knew about that. And it was a fun and interesting way to be able to present topics that I cared about, that I was passionate about, and things that I found interesting, but to be able to kind of put it in this entertaining package that was fun and lively and, just generally entertaining for people to watch. And, I was always big into giving back. I always loved supporting students. And kind of doing that work, I really found like this is a great way to educate, to be able to kind of merge entertainment, pop culture, and science together. And I never, I didn't really see other scientists or people that are out there that are doing that work. And at that time, I wasn't really tapped into the science STEM community per se. I was definitely more so on the entertainment, community. And so for me, it was a way to be able to bring this fun science elements to a whole group of people that just didn't really know about this stuff, you know? And so that was kind of how the platform started. And from there, just starting to get more tapped into the science community, people in the science world start finding out about the work that I was doing, and kind of that cross intersection of pop culture and entertainment just found to be that really unique hub and
Yeah.
that science really wasn't being presented in that way. And that was kind of the early origins of hip hop science. And from there, it's obviously grown into the work that I do now, doing obviously a lot of outreach and work with kids and nature explorations all across the globe. But it's all fundamentally rooted in kind of who I was and the things that I love doing.
And that brings us into just the other day, a couple of days ago, you launched your first book, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's available for pre-order right now. It's gonna be officially available on March 3rd. But yeah, this is my new baby right here, Zombie Spiders and Asteroid Blasters, the 16 different ways scientists are changing the world. And it's really a culmination of everything that I do right now on my platform, which is presenting fun and interesting science facts in kind of unique ways, and really highlighting people that are doing science research work in areas that you may have never thought about, or things that you'd be finding absolutely mind-blowing and fascinating, you know? And,
So give me the title one more time.
yeah, this is Zombie Spiders and Asteroid Blasters.
Okay, so zombies, spiders, and asteroid blasters. Zombies feels more like science fiction. Spiders, we got biology, and asteroid blasters, I'm feeling like physics and everything. It's a very fun, catchy name, and I know you well enough to know that all ties into all the content in there. Can you give us sort of a sneak peek as to why that's the title?
Yeah, absolutely. I know it definitely has that kind of like sci-fi, like, oh, what is this? This is actually a STEM book. But zombie spiders in really it's literally verbatim
zombie
what you
spiders.
think.
Okay, I thought it was zombies, comma spiders. Got it.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, no, yeah, zombie spiders. Yeah. So if you think about a zombie spider, right? That's a dead spider that's functioning, right? Just like an actual zombie. And that is literal research that scientists are doing. So one of the scientists that I interviewed in here, she's a mechanical engineer, and she started this whole new field of necrobotics, using dead organisms as robots.
Whoa.
And yeah, it's really, really unique research work. And, you know, as you know, with arachnids and particularly spiders, they don't have muscles like we do. They actually move their bodies through using pumping hemolymph through their legs. And that's why when you see a dead spider, they're usually curled up into a ball, right? Because that hemolymph isn't pumping through their legs anymore, right? And so it's hydraulic pressure that keeps that enables them to move. And so she kind of used that element and find a way to be able to inject pumps of air using a hypodermic needle to be able to move spiders' legs, and eventually use them as small gripping tools to possibly be able to manipulate nanoparticles or objects in the future. So very, very interesting research, but kind of started out from that fascination of seeing a dead spider curled up in the corner of a room and thinking to herself, I wonder if you could use a dead spider as a tool. And that's how zombie spiders came to be, a whole new field of necrobotics. And so that's just one topic in there. And I interviewed 16 scientists in there that are doing very similar, quirky, kind of out of this world research work in a lot of different areas in STEM. So everything from wildlife biology, marine biology, to space exploration. I've interviewed there with astrophysicists that are doing research work in outer space, learning about black holes, and possibly being able to find life in distant moons. And so it's just really, really unique work in a wide variety of topics and fields that really, for me, I was fascinated to even know that people were doing that work. But I think particularly for students, this is aimed at kind of age group, probably around 6 to 10 is probably that sweet spot for young readers, to be able to just kind of learn about what's out there, what things people are doing, what kind of research work is out there, and learn about possible career paths that they never thought about. Because, you know, we always hear about, you know, doctors, so, you might hear about engineers, but you get a chance to really see some unique career paths and scientists to be able to merge their passions together to be able to create whole new fields as well too, which is really fascinating. So I love all the topics in here. It's really creative, great pictures and imagery. We do fun Q&A with the scientists in here, so you kind of get to learn about their stories as well. And then all sorts of fun facts, quirky, crazy fun facts about all sorts of areas in STEM that are just going to fascinate and blow the minds of young readers. So truly excited about this, and it comes out March 3rd. So it's a new venture, first time author, and I'm excited to get this in the hands of students and families all across the globe.
Well, I'm excited for you because I love watching your content because of the way you present the information. There's so many ways to here's the facts, here's the science, here's what's going on. But the way you present it always makes it so fun, even if I know what it's going to be, right? And it's not just because you're entertaining, which you are, but it's the style in which you set up the brain to go, I wonder, and then deliver it. I can only imagine that's how it's going to be in the book as well. And one thing I do appreciate about your work in general, we had mentioned earlier, it's very inclusive. You try to make it so it's digestible by everybody, and regardless of the age. It's fun, it's entertaining, it's digestible, and it gets you wondering and thinking. I want to ask you, for you, someone who went the path of you're naturally passionate and curious about these things. You went through the academia of engineering and that sort of neck of the woods of education, folded in your entertainment and brought in the fun facts you've always loved. As you've grown on this path now where you have this platform, for you in this position, when you see the audience, be it families, be it kids, be it whomever, for you, what is that like? What is that? What has been that moment for you, or what those moments, I suppose, for you to see, following your curiosity and your passion is making these connections? What's that like for you?
Yeah. For me, it's absolutely amazing. And the key word that you hit there is curiosity. And that's what I try to tap into every single thing that I make, every bit of content that I make, every speaking engagement that I do, whenever I'm connecting with youth and adults alike across the world, is how do we continue to manifest that curiosity? Because, we're all naturally curious. We're born innately curious. It's the most fundamental thing in all of us. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and she wants to know how everything works, and that's how we all are, right? And then unfortunately, as we get older, education system, life, all these things kind of jade us, right? And kind of suck that curiosity out of us. We stop asking questions. We start being interested and inquisitive about things. We start to get complacent, pessimistic, like there are things that just happen just because life, throws so many things at you. And I think for students, particularly young students, to be able to keep that curiosity in them is so important, And for me, I love the aspect of science, because science fundamentally is the most curious thing, right? It's literally how we learn how the world works. That's the definition of science. And so it's all about asking questions. It's all about learning. It's all about research. It's all about diving into the different nuances and trying and testing things out, seeing if it works, seeing what happens. That's the fundamental of every science experiment. You test something out, it might not work, it might blow up. Next time it might, a different reaction might happen. And that's why it's so fun to be able to introduce, science experiments to kids at a young age, because they get to kind of test things out and then extrapolate to see, I wonder what this could be done in some other object, or I wonder how this would react if I did this in this other atmosphere. There's so many places you can take science. And so for me, the most rewarding part is I love working obviously with youth, but being able to see that kind of aha moments, be able to see that light bulb go off in young minds. That's such a rewarding feeling, because we all know that those aha moments that we had when we were kids, and those things that really connected us. And I love being able to give that to students and families in particular, and getting those messages from parents, especially that say, hey, my kids love your videos. They've learned so much. We share this in our household. They have all these now questions about astrophysics and space exploration and wildlife exploration, because of the content that you put out. For me, that's so amazing to be able to have that connection and to be able to know that it's making an impact.
And I want to build on that a little bit. You talked about, we sort of have this innate curiosity as children. If you can remember your childhood, been around kids or have your own, there's especially that stage where it's the why. And sometimes it becomes a game, but it's rooted in wanting to understand the world around them. What, for you and your perspective and your experience, why is it important for us to maintain that curiosity? Why is it important that as we go through the system of growing up, be it the education system, be it our modern society, how it is today, just generally built towards us being on screens, which is still science, but I think to some degree takes us away from the actual curiosity as we're being fed information, my opinion. But from your perspective, why is it important that we continue to foster that and maintain that in the kids as they get to teens, as we become adults, and even, us as parents then? Why is that important to maintain that?
Yeah, I think the important element within maintaining curiosity for a lifelong is like because everything is lifelong learning, right? Like we are constantly learning each and every day. Even as adults, there are new things that we're learning, there are new things that we're getting exposed to,
Yeah.
and curiosity keeps you invested in that learning momentum and wanting to continue to learn and wanting to continue to find out new things and make discoveries. And at the end of the day, like we as humans, as humanity, we are a science and technology based civilization, right? We are going to develop new things to be able to help us live longer, to cure us of diseases, to be able to help better the planet, right? There are going to be so many new things that we're innovating and creating. And it takes curious minds. It takes being able to ask questions. It takes being able to think outside the box to be able to
Mm.
innovate and create these new things. And if we lose that curiosity, we kind of lose that thought process. We lose that cycle of kind of even the engineering process of kind of making mistakes and having failures and overcoming those failures, figuring out what works, what doesn't work, trial and error. All these things are based around curiosity. And if you don't ask questions, if you don't wonder how and why things work, then we stop testing. We stop trying to figure out solutions to new things. We stop trying to solve problems. And at the end of the day, the core of everything that we want to do as humanity is solve problems. And that could be human problems when it comes to us and our health. It could be nature and wildlife problems when it comes to conservation, protecting the natural world. There's so many problems out there that need to be solved. And it takes curious minds. It takes creative minds. It takes new forms of thinking. And curiosity is fundamental to all of that. And if we lose that curiosity, we lose the ability to be able to innovate and try new things. And so that's why I think it's important for not only our youth, but for adults as well too, to maintain that curiosity and foster that curiosity. And it comes with community. It comes with seeing people and like-minded people that are out there doing that work, and setting good examples and representation as well too. And
Yeah,
that's why
absolutely.
I touch a lot on diversity, obviously, on my platform, coming from the background that I have, because that representation is key as well. And just like in nature, diverse ecosystems, foster so many new things, right? And foster so much growth and support so many different systems. And when you're able to have different minds from different backgrounds, different ways of
Hmm.
thinking in the same community together, that just opens the doors of curiosity so much more. And so all these things kind of cycle together, and all these things are kind of codependent on each other. And the more that we can bring that to the forefront and acknowledge that, the better that we're going to be as people in general.
Agreed 100%. And that's why I really have always admired your work, because you have that right up front and center,
Hmm.
the need for inclusion, the need for diversity, because it is, I mean, you see it in like anything in biology or ecology, anything that studies living things that succeed. It's because of the diversity of what's in that space that everything works together and finds that balance, and then one thing leads to another. It's not just
Hmm.
one single thing. And I think as a culture, as humans, we need to recognize the value in the diversity, the value of the different voices, the different experiences, the different lives coming together
Hmm.
to solve these problems you're talking about. And the other part of science too, which you kind of touched on there, it might blow up in the sense
Yeah.
that, well, in the sense that, sometimes science only takes us as far as we know in the moment, and then 5, 10 years later we're like, oh no, actually it's this. And
Yeah.
those unfortunately those moments are sometimes some people will choose to point to it and go, see, science isn't true, science is wrong, oh, now science is telling us it lied to us.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. And it's the diverse voices, it's the people from different experiences, and they can come together and have these discussions around, no, it's just that's what we knew at the time.
Hmm.
And now we know this instead, because either technology's advanced or our perspective has changed, or we didn't realize what we didn't know until now we know what we didn't know.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, from someone who does a lot of science education, have you ever had someone say, whether directly to you or just kind of off the cuff or a sidebar, well, I don't really believe the science on that? And if you have heard that or have been told that by somebody, what's your response when someone says they don't believe science?
Hmm. Yeah, that I've definitely had that for sure, and I think you hit it on the head, right? For me, the way I address that is science. That for me, because there's a whole big thing right now, right? When we think about the pushback against science and science education and
Hmm.
lack of science literacy across the board in all areas. And at the end of the day, science isn't a thing that you choose to understand or not. Science just is, right?
Right.
Like science is just a process. Science is a process of how we understand how the world works. That's what science is. So you saying you don't believe in science, you're choosing to not understand how things work. That's literally fundamentally science is just how we understand how things work. It's a process of learning, right? And so you can't choose to not know how something works. You either learn how something works or you don't, right? And so for me, that's kind of my first process of kind of being able to come back to somebody in that measurement. But fundamentally, I think, things around us, the environments that we're at, the things that we're exposed to, people that we're exposed to, information that we're exposed to, all of those shape our understanding, right? And I think science communication is so pivotal because we have to be able to take all these aspects, right? We have to be able to take all these viewpoints that we get, especially when we're on big social media platforms and we are getting feedback and responses from people across the spectrum, political spectrums, like everything, right? And so you really come at it with an understanding that people aren't always, privileged to be in the same, group that you are in or exposed to the same things that you are, right? And so one thing I always talk about is kind of speaking with empathy and understanding that, people come from different backgrounds and viewpoints and understandings. And so what I always try to do is better understand why someone has that perspective that they do. Why do they believe that? Why do they have this distrust in science? What's shaped that perspective? Once I understand that, it's easier to now address that viewpoint and address that topic in mind by sharing my own lived experiences as well too. Maybe sometimes we'll find a middle ground, maybe sometimes we won't, right? But the process is better understanding everybody, and that in itself is science, right? You're understanding why somebody believes the things that they believe as well too. But science literacy is so key because I said, when we're young and we get that curiosity kind of sucked out of us, we stop asking these questions, we stop kind of going through that process of learning how things work, and then we just get spoon-fed things that come across our table,
right?
And then that's what we digest, and that's what we now regurgitate is just the things that we've been spoon-fed, not the things that we've actually read and researched and experienced and learned about, And so I think that's kind of the first thing is, being able to empathize and understand where people are coming from, but then finding ways to be able to now showcase, like, everything fundamentally comes down to being exposed to new things. And like I said, science changes all the time. Science changes every day because the way we learn, the things we learn and the things we understand are always in flux because we're getting new information, and we have to be able to take that new information and then make a new assessment and move forward with it. That's how we do science, and that's how we grow as people. If we just stay stagnant in the beliefs that we have for a generation, then we never progress. We never move forward anywhere. And if we are trying to move forward as humanity, we have to know that things change and things evolve, and we work with those times as well.
Yeah. Very well said. Very well said. I appreciate that so much. As we start to wrap up here, I want to ask you, you start. We kind of covered the whole origin stories, and now we're launching this book, and I'm super excited for you. I'm glad that we could help talk to people about that, get the word out there about it.
Thank you.
Where do you go from here? Do you have anything like this is where I want to go? I want to go like streaming. I want to have a full show on this, or do you want to just keep touring, or both, or like what's the future projection, if you don't mind me asking, for a hip hop science show?
Yeah. Well, just like science, that is always evolving as well too.
Nice answer.
Things are new opportunities always being presented that I may have never thought about. That I'm like, I really love that route. This is really cool. I'm gonna try that and see what happens. Coming into this, I never thought about being an author. That was never like on my list, but now I'm an author. I have a book coming out, and this March we're going to be doing a big book tour. So March through May, I'm going to be going to cities all across the U.S., obviously talking about the book, doing some fun STEM presentations, sharing fun science facts, probably bringing along some of the scientists that are interviewed in this book, at some of the locations that I'll be at. So definitely stay tuned for dates coming to a city near you. But obviously that book tour is coming up. But I think, I always had a grand vision when I started this platform. And as I mentioned, kind of the origin story of it starting out as a sketch comedy skit one of the things I've always wanted to do and grow within this platform is to be able to bring science to the masses in entertainment formats as far as a TV show. Because, I grew up loving Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson. Like, those are people that I looked up to. And it'll still be my dream to be able to obviously have my own show where I do a lot of the similar things that I do on my Instagram platform and on my YouTube channel of sharing fun science facts in really creative ways and doing some really unique storytelling, merging the worlds of entertainment and pop culture and science together. And so that's always been a vision of mine. And so a lot of the things that I do right now on my platform is still aimed towards that. Obviously, I have my YouTube channel where I have my, my hip hop science show, but I also have my kids' YouTube channel, Maynard's Wild World of Science, where I do fun science videos for young kids. That's fun and quirky and outlandish and crazy and wild, just like the name entails. But being able to bring that to more people, obviously on a bigger platform, would be amazing. And so that's something I'm always intrigued and something I'm always going after. But along with my social media work and doing my STEM outreach, visiting schools and going across the globe, I'm always going to be a nature lover and a wildlife enthusiast. So definitely more travels, experiencing wildlife all across the world. And so that's definitely top of my list, and finding unique ways to partner with organizations and companies really doing incredible work in the science space and finding out new things, because I'm always going to be a curiosity seeker. So anything that's out there that's fun and interesting and quirky that I'm like, wow, that absolutely blows my mind, I want to be a part of it. And so
chase it down.
Exactly.
Well, that's awesome. I will make sure that all the links that you provide me will be in the show notes for these episodes, or this episode that's coming out. But tell us, so you have 2 different channels on YouTube. What are they again?
Yeah, so I have my hip hop science show, which is kind of my main platform. Everything started on YouTube. I have Maynard's Wild World of Science, which is YouTube Kids. So if you have the YouTube Kids app and you do fun, interesting videos for your children, that is a great platform that you can share that safely with some fun, interesting science facts. And I do all sorts of stuff, traveling across the world, sharing my different experiences, and kind of bridging that gap of entertainment. So things that kids would love and connect with, tying in science elements within that. And then obviously I have my social media platform, Hip Hop Science Show. So on Instagram and TikTok, doing fun science videos and kind of merging those worlds of pop culture and entertainment to help educate. And I'll be running around all over the globe, all over the country, doing STEM presentations. I go to schools, museums, science organizations, sharing the wonder and fascination of science. I might be blowing something up. I might be showing a new critter or doing something fascinating. So all those platforms are definitely where you can find the work that I do.
And your website is?
My website is hiphopscienceshow.com.
Perfect. All right. Well, Maynard, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I know we both have busy schedules, and I know you're about to go on this book tour and everything, so congratulations on the book. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Rick, I appreciate you, and I want to give you your flowers as well too, because like I said, we've been following each other now for quite some time. And obviously knowing your history and the work that you do, particularly in wildlife education, has been amazing. And you've obviously partnered with so many incredible people and doing so much amazing work for yourself as well too, exposing people to the wonders of nature. And that's something I'm always passionate about and something I love doing as well too. And so thanks for always utilizing your platform to be able to share work that others are doing, particularly in the science fields, but just in general, to be able to kind of lend your platform to be able to highlight others and always uplifting others. I always appreciate that.
Yeah, no, you are very welcome, and it's where my heart and soul is. I see someone doing something cool, I'm like, hey, people, go look at their stuff.
Yeah.
So yes, no, it's absolutely my pleasure, and we will definitely be in touch, and maybe we'll catch up later in the year after the book tour is over and see what else you got cooking. How's that sound?
That sounds fantastic. Let's do it, and we're going to find a time to meet in person one of these days, because we're too close to not affect.
I know, right? It's going to happen. It's going to happen. All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, brother.
And thank you, dear listeners. You know it because I always say it. I appreciate you being here. Without you, these would just be cool conversations with people that are doing cool stuff. But with you, it's a podcast with an audience. And I've been able to see this audience is growing each week. So thank you, because that means you are sharing this content, or you are telling people who you think might be interested in what you're listening in about this cool podcast with these cool guests on it. Maynard is no different. Maynard is so cool. I love his energy. I love his passion. If you aren't already following him on social media, highly encourage it. There's also going to be a link down in the show notes for his book. Please, if you are even a little bit curious, I encourage you to get this book. It's not that expensive. Great gift for kids, but honestly for the kid inside as well. Maybe get a copy for yourself to read first and then you can gift it to a child or get 2 copies. I don't know. But either way, that information will be there. Maynard is constantly go nonstop. We, like I said at the beginning of this episode, we did this interview a month or 2 ago because he's been so busy. I'm super excited. This comes out on Thursday. He's going to be here in San Diego this weekend, so we're gonna meet up. Just in the sense, I'm going to the book signing to help the book premiere here in San Diego. I'm pretty excited about that. This will be the first time we meet in person, so there'll be some posts on Instagram about that. All of my social media is in the show notes along with Maynard's. Please check him out. Please go check out his YouTube and everything else. He's doing some great work. Again, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you tremendously. More episodes are coming up. We're still doing 10-minute Tuesdays, and we have new interviews coming out every Thursday. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you sharing this content and being a part of this little community here with Animals, Nature, and You. All right. Have a good one, everybody.